Hello, it's another graphic novel review by me, Andrew Ace. You can find me online at UYS999. Today I'm going to be talking about another one of my favorite comic book writers, Brian Azzarello. Now I got introduced to Brian Azzarello actually when I was first getting back into comics, sort of 2000 and something, and I picked up his Superman for Tomorrow entirely by accident. I'd wandered off one evening to find a party, instead found a comic book store that stayed open until midnight, and I picked up Kingdom Come and this. Now, Kingdom Come, Alex Ross, great story. If I haven't reviewed it already, I'll get round to it. This, Superman for Tomorrow, is by Brian Azzarello, the writer who I want to talk about today, and the artist is Jim Lee. I'm sure people who are fans of DC are well aware of Jim Lee's work. He's a phenomenal illustrator, and his works in Batman, Superman, heck, he did X-Men back in the 90s. That's how I first got to know Jim Lee's work. So I won't lie, I picked up this graphic novel based on the artist, and I didn't know who Brian Azzarello was. I read it, I enjoyed it a lot. There's a second volume. At the same time, years go by, and I'm working at a comic book store, and people, on the whole, aren't big fans of the series. I don't know why. I think it's a fun read. I think it's great art. But I guess the feeling that I got from other readers was that Brian Azzarello didn't really get to shine. That there was a bit too much editorial influence. I can't speak to that. I enjoy this series, and I highly recommend it. But I do just keep in mind, the criticisms and thoughts of others that I've heard while working in a comic book store. Now, if that's how I met Brian Azzarello, how I met Brian Azzarello is a different story, because that comes about with 100 Bullets. Now, I've mentioned 100 Bullets before. It's by Vertigo. This is a mature reader's book. That Superman there, it's a little dark at times. It's, Superman is a little edgy. It's still fine for all readers. This is definitely 18 plus, or at least, if you're 16, I didn't see it. But it's lots of violence, lots of sex, and a story that cannot be beat. So this isn't, Game of Thrones. Actually, that's not fair. Game of Thrones is a great story. What this is also a complete story. There's 13 volumes, 100 issues to the 100 Bullets, and this is Brian Azzarello in top form. The story is about a secret conspiracy, a crime organization that controls America. Except you don't come into the story that way. Rather, it starts with the premise of, if someone walked up to you and handed you an attaché case with a gun and 100 bullets, proof of who's screwed over your life, like the reason why your life is totally ruined, and there's 100%, there's ironclad proof in the briefcase, and the person who hands you the gun says, no police, no FBI, no law enforcement official ever will investigate any crime committed with these bullets. You can go kill this person, you'll get off scot-free. What do you do? That's literally what I asked you. The guy handing the attaché case goes, what are you going to do? So, from there, the story sort of expands out. At first, the first couple of volumes even really just see like different, almost unconnected stories where different people are receiving these attaché cases. You're seeing the same guy handing them out, but you don't really understand why. And I gotta admit, actually, when I first read this, I got to the end of volume 3 and sort of went, alright, it's not bad. It's not bad. But, it's not great. I don't know why the person who recommended it to me had spoken so highly of it. It just seemed like, eh. And she said, have you read volume 4? And I said, no, I haven't actually. I stopped at the end of 3. She said, just read volume 4. Now, keep in mind, I worked at a comic book store, so, read volume 4. And I loved it. Like, after volume 4, I could not stop reading the series. I've reread it now. It's been finished twice over. I'm just about to start my third reading of it. And that's to say, I already read it originally, and then sort of as it came into graphic novels. So, getting around to, my 5th reading? The art is phenomenal. Again, the artist, Eduardo Risso, I've mentioned before, and he's a South American artist with a very distinctive, unique style. And again, I won't lie, when I first picked up this book, this series, I didn't love it. I wasn't like, oh, this is the best ever. And now, however, I can't get enough of his artwork. And I have a page up on my wall from this series, and it's part because Eduardo Risso has such a unique style, brings so much, I want to say, character to his characters, that once you've kind of gotten hooked on it, nothing else quite fulfills that need. You know, I love Jim Lee, but there, in a way, to me, there's a dozen artists trying to become Jim Lee, and for me, Eduardo Risso really is just kind of out there on his own, and it's phenomenal. So 100 Bullets, this series, crime noir, Vertigo, it is just phenomenal, and written by Brian Azzarello, who, when I met at a New York airport, said to me, the secret to writing comics is slang. And that's to say, to make your characters sound like real people. And he does that. That is, if I was going to say anything that is most indicative of Brian Azzarello's style, it's how his characters speak and how much sort of slang, how much real world vocabulary he interjects into that. So, 100 Bullets, you got to pick it up, 13 volumes, just keep repeating, you need to read this, it's a great read. So, I'm going to just one more book before I take a break, and I think maybe just sort of a counterpoint to his Superman work. In the New 52, Cliff Chiang was brought on to do Wonder Woman. Sorry, Cliff Chiang. Cliff Chiang is the artist on this book, who's brought on to do Wonder Woman with Brian Azzarello as the writer. They did a phenomenal job. I'm a longtime fan of Cliff Chiang's artwork, and obviously I'm a fan of Brian Azzarello's writing. This wasn't, though, the usual, if you would, sort of crime noir pulp genre that I had, to a certain extent, come to expect of Brian Azzarello's best work. You know what? That's what you get with assuming and expectations, because he destroys it. He really does a phenomenal modern interpretation of the Greek gods, and I think that's a large part of what made this series work for me, was his interpretation of Greek mythology. Cliff Chiang, you know, his art with Wonder Woman, that helped. I won't lie. You know, a comic book is the meeting of a writer and an artist, and what comes about from that. So, you know, you just can't go wrong with this series, given that Wonder Woman sounds like she, you know, exists in our world. That dialogue that Brian Azzarello is so good with is still there. He brings in some fantastic, almost, I want to say, slightly noir elements to the Greek, you know, Olympian family, but at the same time, this is so perfectly Wonder Woman, so perfectly her world and her story. It was, for me, one of the best things that came out of the New 52. I don't know how many volumes, because I think I've got 5, and I'm still looking to pick up the last 1 or 2. But I know that their run did wrap up, and he switched over, and David Finch came on the title. And I haven't quite gotten there with my collection yet. So, Wonder Woman by Brian Azzarello. It's a great read. Alright, guys. I want to take a break. Before I go, though, I just want to mention Hellblazer by Vertigo. Brian Azzarello did a lot of work on that. I just don't have any volumes. It's a great series, though. And again, why people sort of associate Brian Azzarello with sort of noir, gritty, dark writing. Well, I mean, Hellblazer, John Constantine. There you go. And the other one that I don't have, you know what? I'll have to remember it and mention it in the second part. I'll be right back, guys. I'll see you soon. Bye.